Yeah, so I think my main role is look at more the GYN side of the literature and what is of interest to readers from that perspective, given that that's my practice is purely gynecologic surgery for the most part, and I don't do any obstetrics, so that's sort of my expertise. And I think, I've always, ever since I was a resident, I was always uh, reading contemporary OBGYN, in terms of like just to get some like really condensed, up-to-date, practical information, which I always appreciated and still to this day do. And it's clear that I think clinicians really enjoy that because this is one of the most read journals in our specialty. So I think it still adds a lot of value to the readers. I mean, I think at the time it was a little bit of maybe a little bit of a gamble, really, because I decided to do this, even though the fellowships at that time were not very mature. The first fellowship was offered in 2001 formally. There were some informal ones before that. And then this was in 2002 that I did my fellowship. And I remember my chair kind of advised me against it because he wasn't sure that this would be a robust career potentially. Mm. And I think, it could have gone either way, but thankfully, I think I picked the right horse there because at that time, minimal invasive surgery was rapidly evolving and was still early. So when you start something early that's growing, that's always a good thing because you can I think you can grow very, very rapidly, both in terms of publications and also just from a technical standpoint. And it's been a fun career because it sort of started at the beginning of its rise, and then now it's basically become, I would say, standard of care for most of these things. Mm-hmm. And I think I always just liked surgery, and I always wanted to do some surgical specialty, and just kind of somewhat coincidentally happened to end up in this space, which I'm really happy in. That was a great honor, and I mean that's a very prestigious gynecologic surgical organization. So I have been developing several devices now for the past few years, but they have not come to market yet, so they haven't impacted patients directly. One of them is slated to be released on the market later this year. But in the interim, I have innovated in terms of surgical technique. And for example, me and Dr. Greenberg were the first to use barbed suture for laparoscopic surgery. And at the time, this was this is in 2008, it was considered, kind of, a lot of people were not in favor of doing that, but now it basically has become the standard of care. Same with tissue extraction, containment. We've been publishing a lot on that and developing new techniques for that. And also laparoscopic cerclage placement, we've innovated somewhat there, and in some other things. So I feel like early on in my career, I've contributed more in terms of publications and innovative surgical techniques. And then I'm hoping now, sort of as I'm now maybe transitioning into the latter part of my career, like the last 20 years of my career, to contribute more through my innovations. So I have now patents for 11 different devices, and 2 of them have been licensed to a major medical device company, and we're developing several more. So hopefully in the next few years, those will impact patients and help improve outcomes. Well, I've been I would say somewhat of a skeptic on robotic surgery because I felt initially that it was being hyped somewhat, so the advantages were being kind of overemphasized and the disadvantages not highlighted enough. And I still feel that way in some ways. However, I do think that robotic surgery is going to become increasingly integrated into surgery because with competition now, both there's one company now competing with the original company, and then others that are on the horizon that are going to bring their devices to market. This will drive prices down, and it'll also accelerate innovation. And I think then we'll see technologies that are going to definitely improve patient care and patient safety. I've published several studies on robotic surgery and where we compared it with laparoscopic surgery, and we really didn't find any significant differences. So I haven't been too impressed with robotic surgery so far, but I really believe that it is the future, at least in part, because you have to, as long as it provides value in terms of either making the surgery safer or more or faster uh, or even cheaper potentially, which obviously it doesn't now, but it could at some point, then I think it'll be increasingly incorporated. And there are some interesting technologies coming out very soon. Yeah, it's not over, unfortunately, but it's looking pretty good, I think. I mean, I got vaccinated uh, earlier this year, and it makes me feel a little bit more optimistic that things are getting better, and we're vaccinating now. What is it? I think it's like 2.6 million Americans per year, so that's pretty good. I mean, per day, not per year, per day. So by the middle of the summer, hopefully we'll be in good shape. Hopefully, if people accept this vaccine. I mean, I think like a lot of people, I just kind of you kind of had to go back to basics. I mean, I was traveling so much before, and honestly, maybe a little bit too much. I was going to conferences a lot, and sometimes I maybe didn't really feel that I was getting anything meaningful out of it except the travel and meeting friends and stuff. But to slow down on that, I cleaned out my storage and I reorganized my life, and then kind of did sort of basic things, try to keep myself from getting fat. But I think I am, like most people, getting a little bit tired of the situation, and I'm definitely longing for things to get back to normal. And I am optimistic that that will happen very soon. People are getting vaccinated very quickly or fast, and so I think by middle of summer we should be in good shape. I think we're doing much better really than pretty much most countries in the world. I mean, Israel and UK and maybe a few other small countries are a little bit ahead, but I mean, we're doing really well here, considering this is probably the most sort of sought after item in the world right now, this COVID vaccine. That's all. I'm just I guess looking forward to seeing friends and colleagues at future meetings, hopefully later this year.